level 6. How are you all feeling? Hello.
Terrified.
Terrified. Right, come on, let's share
terrified.
Terrified. What are you scared of? Doing some work.
No, so much the after uni, what am I going to do? Also, how am I going to graduate? Kind of.
In what sense, how am I going to graduate?
Just, we had like our welcome back meeting in illustration today, and it just seems like a lot of work that I don't know whether I'm prepared to. Yeah.
Mine's the same. That just shook me a bit yesterday.
Right. What about in graphics?
We've got a lot.
Shook up already?
Yeah, we
got a lot.
Yeah, I think a lot of us were quite looking forward to being back. We've done a lot of us have done a lot of work placements over the summer, and it feels actually a bit more relaxed and definitely a bit of a lie-in to come back to uni, a later start. So I think it's quite nice to be back and work on some more self-directed projects. But we haven't started yet, so
yeah, for sure.
Illustration. So yesterday, she was just like, "Is everyone okay?" And everyone was just like,
"Oh God!" Right. Okay. Do you know what? I put you in a group because you're not particularly doing similar things, but you're all doing something related to gender. So one of the things I thought was when we were doing these tutorials this year was to get. I tried to do it last year. It doesn't always work because sometimes people are doing something that's very different to everybody else. But you guys are all doing something related to gender, so getting together as a group is quite a good idea. I've assumed that you've looked at Moodle. You know when the submission date is for the dissertation. Do you?
26th January.
Don't guess.
23rd.
Would be my first thing.
I thought
Don't
it was the
guess.
26th.
If it's the 26th, you failed already.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I'm only saying that. I just want you to.
23rd of January.
It is 23rd. It's my kid's birthday, actually, so that's how I remember. One of the things I want you to think about very clearly is don't be overwhelmed by the dissertation. Work backwards from the date. If you know the date you're submitting, right, already, and you know it now this week today, what I want you to do is feel in charge of your time. That you're not shit. It's after Christmas. That'll be all right. I've got Christmas. You know, let's just crack on with it now, so we know what we're doing.
Everyone always says they'll do loads of work in the holidays, and then nobody ever does.
It just doesn't work. Hi, you all right? Nobody with me? No, just hello. It's fine. Yeah, don't do that. Just get it all done before Christmas as much as you can, and then just do some editing over Christmas, and you'll be fine. Okay. I have had students in the past start in November, and they should have started clearly last year, alright? And, you know, everybody, just a point as well, everybody works at their own pace, everybody's got their own ideas, and everybody will probably come out with a different mark, okay? But that's also fine. My job is to help you get the best out of what you're doing and where you are with it, okay? But you need to be in charge of things like your time, submission dates, how much time you're putting into your dissertation is all up to you, okay? One of the things that we say is give it a day a week, your dissertation, block it out of your timetable, because you have other commitments, you probably work, you might care for other people, there might be things going on that you have to deal with, as well as everything else that you're doing, okay? So if we do like that housekeeping stuff at the beginning, yeah, block your time out, all right? Because finding time to write and think creatively is difficult. It is difficult because it's the thing that sometimes seems the hardest. If you're a practical person, it seems more what you do to sit down and create something. Whereas this kind of thing requires you to only be thinking about this and have that time and space, and things always take longer than you think they do. Alright? I know this from somebody who's trying to write papers and things. It takes bloody ages, man. I've been writing a paper since it's a book chapter. I gave a paper in June and I've almost finished it. Yeah, it's taken me most of the summer. It's not quite there, but it almost is. Yeah? Just in relation to what else I'm doing and commitments. So this is what you're doing, okay? We're not scared about dissertations, but we're cracking on with them. Alright? Give yourself time. It's my first thing, I just want to get that out of the way. Is it clear when you're coming to see me? Is that all right? Yeah, you're not confused about... No?
The next one back to 24th of October. But it's no personal.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember, all right? But yes, have a look. So we've got a couple of these group ones, we've got at least one individual tutorial, okay? Do you all know when the... So we've got your keynotes this afternoon.
I haven't heard anything about a keynote.
No,
like
I was wondering what it is.
I looked on the timetable that's on Moodle and it didn't even have the word keynote
Just
on there.
just see if it's on Moodle now then,
Okay.
because as far as I was aware, they were this afternoon. Okay. October the 31st, you need to submit some work to me. Okay. Between 2,000 and 3,000 words of written works. That could be like an introduction and a chapter. Yeah. That'll be the only time I'm reading in any detail your work. And you need to be on top of things like your writing and your spelling and your grammar and your referencing. You need to be on top of all that, okay? So I'm not going to be pointing that out. I'm not reading it for that. I'm reading it for content. I'm reading it for context. I'm reading it for argument and analysis. Okay, that's what we're looking at then. So get your grammar sorted. If you feel a bit not sure about that, last year LTDU were running writing workshops. Some students found them great, other students didn't find them so good. Other students weren't sure where they were. They're usually on a Wednesday. Alright? So if you feel... All the ceramic students used to go to them, right, which I used to find fantastic. And I said, why do you go to these? And they said, we make stuff, we don't write, so we need all the help we can get. So if they're running them this year, check them out, okay, and go to them, all right? Go to the library. Are you all clear with MetSearch? Everybody know? That's one of my questions. So, first of all, can you introduce yourselves and tell each other what it is you're doing? I know that's a slightly hateful thing, but you know, we'll be working together as a group, so who wants to start?
Shall I start?
I don't care, yes, please.
I'm Georgina and I'm doing the sexualisation and objectification of women in the media. That's the best way to explain it.
Lovely. Do you have a case study? Are you thinking about how you're going to hand the ideas?
I started writing like an abstract for my dissertation.
Okay.
And I said that I want to first look at marketing techniques and then also look at the psychology of how they affect women and then look at theorists.
Okay.
And then analyse my own images and apply.
Your own as in your own work? Or
No, like
images
find
you've chosen?
source.
Right, nice. Will you use print media?
That's what I was going to ask you because in my dissertation proposal to grants, I said a mix of things in that. But now,
You're going to have to remind me.
but now I'm thinking of, you know, when you like search like women like objectified in the media and there's like always the same images, the same
Okay.
advert. So maybe a few of those and then ones I see like on an everyday basis.
Fine. Okay. Who's next?
I'll go next. I'm doing Muslim women and how they can wear the hijab and identify as feminists. Over the summer, I've looked at a book by Bennett called Muslims and Modernity, which has really helped thinking about the Muslim feminist, and then they had bits about how the Quran's maybe in some ways been misinterpreted, and that's why they think that some men feel the need to force the hijab. And I've also looked at Muslim women in terms of the blogosphere, so how blogging and the internet has made like modest dressing more of a choice, and how I found this link to this kind of group online where they're posting women who are wearing the hijab by choice and who are not wearing it by choice to empower women in the country.
Okay. So you're talking about the hijab as a form of control, but it's a paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Who's next?
I'll go. I'm writing about...
Sorry, introduce yourself,
Oh,
please.
Suzanne. Hello.
Suzanne.
My whole dissertation is basically a manifesto for like a genderless society. So if we completely eradicated gender pronouns, how would that impact society? How would that impact the mental health of like transgendered people and just all kinds of stuff like that? And this book that I found in the library is like an absolute godsend, because I couldn't actually find much, or like everything that I found so far about genderless was more about like men and women being equal, whereas I'm going a bit deeper in and just being like, there is no men and women, we're just people. Like that was kind of where I was going, and I just couldn't find anything that was on this. Like I found similar things, but nothing that was on the exact same wavelength that I was on. And this book is exactly what I needed, and it's got a huge bibliography in the back of.
Hey, huge bibliographies, go!
It's got this huge bibliography in the back about like what he used to write this. Where is it? It's somewhere in here.
Yeah, no, I can see it when you flick back. It's probably before the index.
Aha.
Oh, lovely.
So it's got all of those.
What's the date of that book?
2015 or 2016.
Nice. Okay.
2016.
Oh, lovely.
So it was like really recent, and like it was just a godsend. I found it in the library, in like Cardiff Library, and I was just like, yes, this is what I've needed. And I haven't started this one yet, like looking into this one, but this is also gender from a will perspective, so not just first will.
Okay. Might be interesting for you. Because the other thing I thought is you might want to share resources, which might be interesting. Who's next?
I'm James, and I'm looking into heteronormativity and the impact it has on like masculine representations in the media. So yeah, I don't know what else to say really.
That's all right. Last but not least.
I'm Catherine. I'm doing a representation of women in power or female politicians in the English news, really, or British news, and then a case study of how Theresa May was presented in the election this year. So I've been over the summer. I've just been reading lots, and I've got some chapter headings that I showed to you before I left for the summer, which are just firstly women in politics, and then within that a brief history of the female voter, women in politics, and the masculine woman, and then female representation in the news, and then Theresa May and the Daily Mail, or I might change the Daily Mail.
Okay.
So I've
similarities between you guys as well, aren't there?
Yes, I actually mentioned it in one of my things I wrote about one of the Daily Mail shows.
Okay.
So I've just been, as I've been reading things, picking out all the quotes and kind of putting them into which chapter heading they might most suit, and then and getting all the references together at the same time.
Okay, great. So have you all, I sent you some questions on Friday. Have you all managed to address them in some form or other?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you start? Have you all managed to read over your feedback, first of all? Don't forget, when I gave you feedback months ago, while I might be able to remember some of the things I said, obviously I've got copies, but you're going to have to remind me of things if I said certain things. Did everybody understand their feedback? Did anybody feel that they weren't clear about anything I might have said?
I've got to my dissertation notes again.
Right.
And I was wondering, you said about me adding more references. Is it okay to like literally use the old one that I got, and then just add in like I know
more
I want to
references
do
because I know with most people I've tried to say, have you read this and have you read that? You might have already read them.
Since I started writing my abstract for my actual dissertation now, I feel like it's clearer in my head now.
And the abstract will become your introduction.
And I'm glad I kind of got the chance scared, I think.
Can I have from all of you then is currently, no, in the past, what were your strengths and weaknesses of the dissertation proposal? Do you remember?
I tended to write statements without backing them up. And
Right.
I actually put like a tally in my dissertation notebook of the word evidence question mark, and it was something like 16. So
So what does that mean to you?
it means that I need to look at more studies, and when I'm writing something, make sure that I fact check it and add that in rather than just putting the statement and then
Right.
just leaving it at that.
Do you put it in like capital letters, like fine quickly?
Oh no, it was literally just like,
I feel like that too, because I read something and I start writing from the top of my head, but I never.
Right, rather than demonstrating the perspective of the author.
yeah.
Because that's kind of what we need to be doing much more is, well, you know, Connell says this, and White's
Yeah.
and good to argue that. And evidence from the Daily Mail suggests something, but yeah, does everybody feel so okay? So that was a weakness. What was your strengths?
I think I had a lot of good ideas. Like the whole concept of the thing came across well, but it just needed a bit more fleshing out, I think.
Right.
That was the main thing I needed to work on.
And perhaps it falls down because it's not supported enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's true of you all. It's great to have, you know, it's nice to have good ideas, but you have to demonstrate evidence. We've all got good ideas somewhere, but usually the ideas have come from some point you're reading, hasn't it? At some point in what you're doing, yeah? Even if what you're doing is taking bits of other people's ideas and putting them together and making them your own. That's really what your job is now, isn't it? Yeah. Great. What about you, Megan?
Kind of a similar thing, but I think most of my like weakness with it is just being too afraid of it and beating around the bush a lot when I'm writing it.
Go on, what are you afraid of?
The word dissertation. I had to
Oh, are you
change.
really?
Like I had to change the name of it on my computer.
What have you called it? Oh,
I've called it "You've Got This" instead of dissertation. Folder.
Okay. That's really positive.
A bit more. And as well, like in my writing, I kind of beat around the bush rather than saying exactly what I mean because I'm a bit scared to say exactly what I mean. So I've
Are
been.
you scared to say what you mean because a bit like what you were saying there, you've got nice ideas, but you're not really sure where they've come from?
Yeah.
Is it that or is it something else?
I think it's that, and I think because it's like to do with Islam, whichever it is such a complicated thing. I'm so scared of saying something that isn't correct
Okay.
and making like a judgment based not on what I've read and like.
So how are you going to address that?
What I've been doing over summer is just rereading everything I've been writing, and then just making it more to the point. So every time I've read something, I've been like, okay, but I could actually say this, and trying to be more direct.
Okay.
And then I've just been doing a lot more background reading on Islam, so I can get like a basis in there before I start dissecting it with feminism. I think I need the base of
Yeah.
understanding of what it actually is.
Yeah.
Just discovered it's even more complicated than I
But
thought.
it would be like any religion or belief system. There'll be so many perspectives on
Yeah,
it.
it's really difficult.
But if you think about it, it's the same as any belief system or religion. And it'll be hard to navigate, you know, there will be no one truth.
Yeah.
So what you'll have to do is think about a perspective on it. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's really positive, and you need to write that up on your, we're calling it something different.
Learning journal.
Journal post, I think. It's called something else, sorry. This thing about changing the name of it sounds quite interesting to me.
Yeah, how do we manage the blog this year? Is it do we just put whatever we need on the blog with, or is it?
Yes and no. Let's talk about the blog another time.
Okay. I was just wondering if the blog was like going towards any sort of marking.
Yes, it'll be 1,000 words for your dissertation.
Lovely.
Yeah, and it'll be included in your dissertation in the back. And what it will do is represent your journey of how you got there.
Okay.
So yours perhaps will be that, you know, you had to change the word to make it more achievable. That, you know, we talked about stages we were at, what you did to help yourself get over stuff. That's what it is, isn't it, basically? If you think it's something else, though, we probably need to have a discussion about it. If you think it's not that, yeah? James, what did you do? Strengths and weaknesses, please.
I think my strengths, I've got a lot of ideas.
Right.
So, which I'm kind of a little bit confident with.
You're a little bit.
I'm confident. I am confident with my ideas.
All right,
I'll be honest
great.
with you. But I think my
It's all right to say.
weaknesses are I don't kind of expand on concepts enough. So
Right.
I'll put concepts in, but I think when I'm writing it, I think everybody knows what I'm on about, and I need to expand it so people can understand what I mean.
Even at this stage, I mean, I've started saying to level 4, write for the idiot, write for somebody who doesn't know anything but anything at all. Please, still do that.
Yeah.
You know, what is meant by the heteronormativity is this person said this and this person's argued it's that. For the purposes of this dissertation, we're using this.
Yeah. So, and I think my other weakness is I don't use enough images. Well, I don't use any images.
Right. So we don't know what you're speaking of then.
Yeah, I don't know how to add images into my disc, so I kind of get nervous about it.
I
And
don't want to put them in the wrong way, the images. When it comes to actually writing my dissertation, also analysing images, I don't want to just like throw them on the page.
What I used to do in college was you put like refer to image 1, and then on a separate page you have like image 1, image 2.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's what
But there's no right or wrong.
Yes, there's a process like Harvard referencing for images.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
Martha did show me the referencing. I just think I'm just nervous of
Yeah.
screwing
Do it
up.
anyway, and
Yeah.
if it's wrong, we can address it.
Okay.
Yeah?
I think that's probably the opposite to you guys. That I didn't really, when I did my dissertation proposal, I hadn't fully worked out what my idea was. So I was talking, and when I spoke to you, and in my feedback, you said I can write academically, my actual writing and analysing and using
It's
quotes
fine.
was fine.
Yeah.
But it was that it came across like I didn't even really know what I was talking about, which was right when I did my dissertation proposal.
We had a couple of tense sessions, didn't
Yeah. It's fine, it's past now.
we? Okay,
But,
how are things
but
going?
yeah, well, I think over the summer, definitely, now I've changed what I'm doing as well, I feel like I know a lot more what I'm doing, and I care about it more, so I know what my idea is.
But I think what is interesting about you, Catherine, which is the same as you all, is you've worked out what it is you're actually writing about. Because when it comes to gender, there can be so many things you could
Yeah.
say, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and particularly with you, because it's quite broad.
Yeah.
The concept of all gender is quite broad, isn't it? And with you and the, you know, women are this way, they're portrayed that way. It's. I think what you've all done, probably hopefully by now, is say, look, it's about this. If you want to, and I always think this is a sign of maturity in a student, is if you can say, lots of things could be written about gender, or feminism, or heteronormativity. The purpose of this dissertation is to explore it in this way. Okay? You acknowledge that there are other ways of addressing it, other ways of critiquing things. Let's write that down for an action problem.
Yeah, when I first started doing my first dissertation proposal, I was thinking I could say this, and I kind of agree with some of the aspects of a different perspective, but just to like make my dissertation more coherent is easier to stick with one perspective.
I think one thing that I struggled with as well was like, because I've got my opinion of what I'm writing about, I struggle to like see other people, like other like arguments against what I'm writing. So
Because you feel quite fervent, don't you?
yeah, because I'm quite
Which is
passionate
good.
about my viewpoint on
Yeah,
it.
I bicker about what I'm writing about
Yeah.
every day with my boyfriend.
That's all right.
See, I kind of almost got the opposite. The more I researched into as soon as you like search hijab, you just find all these things that are really
I was the
awful.
same. I had too many. I couldn't decide one thing to write about because there was too many.
But I was just like, I was trying to prove that it was a good thing, and I just kept finding all these articles like women being forced and all these horrible videos, and I was like, no, I've got to find if
But what
it
does
is
that?
right.
What does that say about the subject that you're examining?
I think that not many.
But also that perhaps very few women who wear hijabs are writing about the positive elements.
Yeah, lots
So there are two things there, aren't there, that are probably worth exploring. Where are the voices of people wearing hijabs?
mainly online. This whole
So why is that, do you think?
I
Rather
think,
than in peer-reviewed? There is quite a bit of peer-reviewed.
I think a lot of it is to do with Muslim men don't want it. Some Muslim men in some countries don't want it in the media. The whole element of choice, and then I think a lot of women are a bit afraid to stand up and say that it is.
And what does that say to you about the dominance of patriarchy?
That the men are still in control in some way.
And how does that differ to this country then, do you think? And the way women express themselves in their clothing in this country?
Well, women do think.
Patriarchy appears in a different form,
Yeah.
though, doesn't it? It's still present, surely.
Yeah, I think women feel they need to show more skin here.
So you've got some elements there to address, haven't you? Patriarchy particularly, and the power of patriarchy. What I'm going to do is send you some action points. We'll discuss these things. Yeah. We started writing stuff down then. I thought, oh yeah, let's make that an action point, but I can't remember what it was. What was it?
I put down where are the voices of positive representation because my arguments care very much like not enough representations of homosexual masculine men in the media, and I want to kind of have a look at the other side of the coin.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know if that's helpful for anyone
It's
else.
being addressed. I've seen quite a few things now. We've talked about a couple of
Yeah.
images and also
There's quite a few,
adverts.
yeah.
Quite a few adverts now.
And there's another thing I was going to ask actually, because in my dissertation proposal, the media I flipped between was like TV commercial and print. And I said at the start that I was going to focus on just print. Can I focus on both?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just
It is
watch
what
my
you
wording.
want it to be. Don't forget that.
One interesting advert I saw recently. I went to the cinema and the trailers at the beginning, and I can't for the life of me remember what it was advertising. So it probably wasn't a very good advert. But there was this couple, a man and a woman, walking down the street, and he goes and gets a tattoo of her name, and then later on in the later on in the advert, he's walking down the street holding hands with a man, and then he gets it covered up with his name instead, and it's obviously he's bisexual or some
But I
other.
don't know what it's advertising.
Yeah, I
either.
can't.
No, but isn't that true of all adverts, graphic students?
So yeah,
knows
that
what they're
if I remember it, I'll let
Yeah,
you know.
have a look, James.
Amazing.
That sounds familiar to me. There was also one for Lloyd's Bank we talked about, wasn't
Yeah.
there? An image, particularly of people getting mortgages or overdrafts at the bank. A lot of banking adverts now, or anything involving families. Also, lots of people with mixed race. That's an interesting area as well. Mixed heritage. Right, look at that in a minute. So we've
IKEA.
had.
I don't know why it's like here, but it's
We've had
it's
strengths and
here.
weaknesses.
How does that at all represent IKEA?
So I think moving
Don't
representations is so
worry
much
about
easier because with a picture,
Dissertation.
you can have two people standing in a picture and you can make loads of it, whereas when it's actually
When you
moving,
write,
it's so much easier.
Yeah.
that's single spacing. Yeah.
In between paragraphs.
In between lines, you can set it up on your computer. Once you've written everything, set it up on your computer. Go through, select all, double space it in paragraph. Yeah. I've read so many single spaced 10-point things. No wonder I need specs. It makes it, if it's double spaced, it makes it easier for us to read. You use more paper, or you use more, and you need more page numbers and all that. Yeah, double spacing. Don't worry about it. We could have a look at it if you're not sure. Okay, so we've looked at, we've talked about feedback. We've understood the feedback. Don't say yes if you don't feel like it, but it seems that everybody thought the feedback was okay, that you understood from it, and you know where your strengths and weaknesses are. Yeah, and clearly you've all done some work as well, which puts you in a good position. You know, you didn't just leave it in June and now it's, you know, almost October. So, you know, excellent. Yay. My third question is, what did you do over the summer for your dissertation? Even if it's just thinking, that's good.
I wrote out like the skeleton of my thing. Like I watched this YouTube video about like how to write a dissertation.
I did too.
Yeah, and it was like this guy with a lecture, and he said like
You're such a moving image generation, aren't you?
so. Break it up into like smaller essays, so like each chapter like 1,000 words for introduction and conclusion each, and then like maybe 3 to 4 chapters of 2,000 to 3,000 words each, and then it's so much easier to handle because it's basically like 5 smaller essays.
Nobody's writing 10,000 words on a Sunday night from nowhere, right?
So what I've done is like write out the names of the chapters and then like the individual topics that I'm writing within those chapters.
Lovely.
So then it's even like 500 to 1,000 words per these individual headings. So I've just like broken it down so it sounds
Excellent.
manageable in my head. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I entirely understand that.
Yeah, like I heard the like 10,000 word mark and I was like, oh dear. But then I watched this video and he broke it down so well. It was such a good video. And now it seems manageable in my head now. So
Help if we did videos like that,
yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah, I agree.
rather than sticking it up on Moodle in print form.
Also, I'm still like honestly like Harvard referencing. I was so sure that I did my referencing right in my dissertation proposal, but then one of your comments was, you need to use Harvard referencing, and I was like, oh, I thought I
Sometimes
did.
that happens. I always think it's right. And then
So I think
Can I just say something about referencing? You don't need to learn how to do it, all right? And don't waste your time learning how to do it. Print it off from Moodle and have it next to you and just do it as you're going along.
okay.
If you've used something and then you get the reference and there's like one thing missing, can you still use it and just leave that thing out of the reference, or is that referencing
What do
done
you mean
wrong
one
there?
thing missing?
So if you have got the quote, but say you can't find the publisher or you haven't got the country where it's published, or do you not use it?
Why can't you find those things?
I don't know, but if you
Yeah,
can't
sometimes
find
they're
it,
not like
sometimes they're not.
yeah.
Yeah.
If it's incomplete, say incomplete.
Okay.
That's
I
fine.
had a book and I wasn't sure if it was published in New York or London, so I'd like,
Yeah. Do you know what? Choose one. Don't worry about that level. As long as it's got as long as it's a kosher book, and it was published by Macmillan or it was published by Quality. Yeah. You know, and if it's Cambridge, Massachusetts or Cambridge, UK, stick Cambridge down. You know.
I think
But-
what might be good in terms of like getting everyone confident with referencing is like maybe a school-wide lecture in one of the big lecture halls, just like this is how you reference, because
We have done that in the past. Nobody would come because what we did, and this is my point really, is you don't have to remember how to reference because it's so tedious.
okay.
That if we stood there and say, you know, in brackets and then a comma, and, you know, everybody would die.
Right, okay.
But if we did a little video,
Yeah.
or maybe
What,
somebody
to go on
talking
Moodle or
over,
something?
when you do this, do that. Would that help?
Yeah, I think so.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
Get on
might-
to Martin.
And if it's like on Moodle or something, that would be like reaccessible. So if you forget what happened,
then
like
you can just go back.
yeah,
All right. I'll mention this to Martin Woodward now, and it'll be my job to do it. Sometimes, just going back to your point, Catherine, sometimes there isn't a date,
Yeah.
and you just say no date.
Okay.
Yeah. But the more you read, the more you will see how people reference. That's part of the thing about reading. And as long as it's a form of Harvard referencing, of which there are several types. Yeah.
I've got a question as well.
Yeah,
When
of course.
in the text someone's referencing someone
Somebody
else,
Yeah.
how do I then put that quote in my writing?
Right. You can do that, of course you can. Okay. Don't forget, when you reference, you must reference word for word exactly the way they have referenced. Even if the spelling is different, it could be American spelling. even if it's different, even if the grammar is incorrect and your computer's trying to change it, yeah? It has to be absolutely word for word, otherwise you're misrepresenting what somebody's saying. So if Peters references Jones, so in Peters' book chapter, Peters is referencing Jones, and she loves Jones. There's a lot of Jones in the chapter, okay? Jones 2004. Jones 2004 says this, Jones 2004 says that. Here's a lovely quote from Jones 2004. What you do, this is called secondary citation. If you want that quote that Peters has written from Jones, you put the quote in and you say Jones in Peters. Date of
Okay.
Peters' book. Unless you've read the Jones directly,
So
you reference Peters. If you've read Peters, you haven't read Jones. You've read Jones in Peters.
And is that in your bibliography when you have primary and secondary?
No,
or do you not need to do that?
it'll just be Peters.
Oh,
Because
okay.
unless you've read Jones firsthand, you don't need the book. Yeah, but that's why you need the page number. We check quotes. Sometimes I look at a quote and I think this is wrong, and I go and check it, and it's all manner of wrong sometimes. Or the students completely misunderstood what the person said and changed it to suit them. I've had that quite a lot.
So it's the person in the other person, and then it would be the date of the text you're reading.
Always the text you're reading. Always. Yeah? Not if it's sometimes you get books with been edited. So you've got loads of different you get an edited book, so Connell and Pierce have collected a load of essays together, but every chapter is a different author. Yeah, that's when you use the author's name, and then. But again, check because this is like you'll never remember this, and it's so boring. But if we were to stand in A031, nobody would count because they'd go, "Fuck that, we're not going to," and we'd all die with me standing there going, "Just put this in brackets." Do you not think?
Yeah, probably. I don't know. It's just.
I think a video would be better because then we can.
All right.
Yeah.
But what we say
Go
to you
back to
is,
I think it's just because we're all from different academic backgrounds.
no, I understand that, but what I would say to you is go to people's bibliographies. The problem is they're all called different things. The way in which this is referenced is different. It's mainly the same. This is Harvard referencing. This is the name of the person, the date, chapter title. Read that. And if yours looks like that, then you really can't go wrong too much. Don't worry about it though, but keep going with it. Keep going. There's nothing worse than losing a reference. It takes ages to get it back. Right. We've done feedback, we've done strengths and weaknesses. What have you done over the summer? So we've got some nice things going on here. What else have you done?
I wrote a rough abstract, and I kind of know in my head the skeleton as well, but I don't have the subcategory.
Let's get it on paper then. So knowing in your head is great, but let's get it written down. So what you can do is move it around if you want to. Yeah. What I've done as well, I don't know if I've posted it up on my. I'll double check. I'll talk about that in a minute. You've already said you've started doing chapters.
Yeah, I think to try and
To organise your work as well.
yeah, and trying to just have a really detailed. I think my problem before with my idea has been all over the place because I didn't have a good enough plan maybe
All
to
right.
start with. So trying to do
Narrow
that.
the focus.
Yeah.
And don't forget the thing about what I said. Oh, that's the thing I was going to write down. It's fine to be fairly focused on what you're doing by acknowledging what other people write about
Yeah.
and how, this could well be a dissertation on, the work of femininity in Bret Easton Ellis, for example.
Yeah.
But actually, you've narrowed the focus because, yeah. If you say that, I always think that's a very mature thing for students to say because you're acknowledging other people's work, but you're saying that's all right. All these people are saying this, which is totally fine and it's fairly interesting, but my focus is on this. And you could have a reason, but you don't have to have a reason. either. All right. Have you got an action plan on you of what you're going to do this term? Come with an action plan of some of the first things you intend to do with your dissertation this term as of today. Have we got a latent one at all?
I've got to attend the writing workshops.
Lovely.
To visit, is it Martha in the library again? Just to get back into it. And then I started to write my introduction over summer, just so I knew exactly what it was I wanted to say. So now I just want to do the chapters. Okay. To start breaking it down. Yeah, if you could send me the video.
Hi.
Yes.
I've just looked on Moodle, I still can't see anything on there, and I thought they would mention it yesterday in graphics and they didn't.
Can I check moving for you? Sorry, I don't know. It's alright.
Yeah, do you mind telling me that?
I've just got level 1 talking about.
Oh yeah, the how to write a
Yeah.
dissertation. I literally just typed into YouTube how to write a dissertation.
I've watched so many and some
Oh,
are like really
don't tell me that. James, were you going to tell me something?
On what?
On
My action plan.
Yeah. No. Sorry, I don't think I asked you what did you do over the summer for your dissertation? I don't really care what else you did. It had a social time.
So I met up with Martha a few times to get her to help me find images
All
and
right,
like
yeah.
resources because I've been stuck with that.
Okay.
So she showed me loads of like archives on NetSearch.
And we've
where
got
I can
image
go.
resource library, haven't we?
So there's loads of different ones.
Just the rule as well. Yeah. Go and see Martha.
Yeah, I've got a meeting with your
Brilliant.
So I have written them down, but I don't have them with me.
Right.
And I also created a structure, but your idea of splitting it into 4 essays sounds much nicer because I did loads and loads and loads of questions that I tried to answer and like to work my way through, but I just think there's too much.
Everyone's got their own way of working though, don't forget that.
I
But
know.
what's nice is if we're having tutorials as a group, you can share good practice,
So
which is what we want really.
the idea of splitting it into like 4 essays and then having the little questions in each of those just seems much more manageable, I guess, than just a
list of
list of
questions.
questions that I'm going to try and structure and like solve. It just seems a bit, I don't know, overwhelming.
All right. Whatever you have to do to stop it being overwhelming, and whether that's different for you to you, is what you need to do really. Yeah, don't worry that other people are doing it differently to you, but check in with me
Yep.
to make sure that you're, just little and often. Let me have a look to see what's happening later, if there's something. Have you had a look at the other dissertations that are on there?
I'd look at 1 or 2 just for like the layout.
Yeah, good, great. Can we all do that? Just check out, because I had some level 5 students who were feeling overwhelmed, and I said, go look at some dissertations. Have a look. What's it say? Don't be all, it's something I can't do, and it's big and.
Did you say earlier that you've got copies of our proposals with the feedback on them?
What I have is your feedback.
Okay, yeah, because I took my dissertation notebook with my feedback in it away with me so I could do work over summer. Like I went away for 3 weeks.
Right.
And I think I've left my whole dissertation notebook somewhere in Europe. I'm still looking for it in my room, but I can't for me think of where else it would be. And I've got most of the notes on my blog, but my feedback
Shall I
didn't
just
put
send
on
you
my blog.
my feedback?
Yeah, that would be great.
I'll just do that then.
Yeah,
don't
thank
worry.
you.
It's fine. It's fine. Just looking for this.
I discovered over summer that I deleted my lit review because I was so annoyed about it that one day I angrily deleted it. So I've got it on paper. So I've got to type it out again to edit it.
Oh.
That's the other thing. can I just say before we got a couple of minutes left, the university doesn't care if your computer breaks, if your stick that you've got your dissertation on no longer works, that something is wiped. Okay? University doesn't care, and that's not a reason for you to have extra time or mitigating circumstances or anything. Please, will you save your work in a cloud format? All right? Yeah. A couple of years ago, when I was about to go on maternity leave, I flushed my USB stick. I dropped it down the toilet and flushed it away with all my lectures on it. And it was quite interesting, really. It was quite sort of psychologically telling. I was like, okay, I'm ready to go on maternity leave now. Literally, I had all my, if I wasn't very good on Dropbox or whatever it's called. If your computer breaks, the university doesn't care. All right, so don't come to me with those things, yeah? And save your work little and often. Keep saving it. Things are much easier for you now. In the past, you'd write a Word document, and if you didn't save it, you'd have lost it, yeah? So I'm just trying to see if I can see anything to do with
The literature review actually in the dissertation proposal. What kind of elements do you need to analyse? Because I've obviously done it before, but I want it to be better.
It's what you need to think about is who writes what about the subject that you're examining, and from which perspectives do they write? And what you need to do is so these people write about representations of women in this way, and these people write about representations of women in this way, that way. It's different. Yeah. Just have a look through them. Have you all read the book, the handbook? Can you read it by next time, please? Because it's got some really good stuff about your blog, your learning journal entry, which we will all learn to call it.
Isn't it
The RDJ,
last year?
Oh, that's snappy.
reflective something journal, whatever it was.
And the stuff about how to put what to put in your blog and how to do it. Don't forget your competency clusters, things that we're marking you on. I can't see anything obvious about Keynote today. Not to say there isn't one. Jackie, sorry. I can't see anything. Module essentials. No, can't see about Keynote, I'm afraid. Referencing systems. Don't know if the academic skills workshops are running this year, but if they will, it'll be on autumn. Alright, yeah, we can do it not doing that. Right. There's a couple of things I just wanted to talk to you about. Did you all manage to write the 1,000 words thing that I asked you to do last term? Remember, can you write this in 1,000 words?
As a kind of introduction.
Can you have a look?
Yeah.
It'll be in an email attachment that I have sent you.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
If you've got that, you can start, it might be how you plan. But what I'd like you to do is to work on that again for next time. What I'll do is send it to you as well. I'll write it in this. I'll send you a little email now. Right. I tell you what else I'm trying to do, and I'm having training on it this afternoon. Because clearly Moodle has changed, isn't it? Moodle has changed. What I'm going to try and do every week is set up a little questionnaire that emails you once a week, maybe on a Friday, and ask you questions about what you've done that week about your dissertation. So when you come for tutorial, you've got some questions to guide you. What I don't want you doing is coming and saying, I want you to use this time quite productively. Yeah, so I don't know if it's possible that I can get it set up to do that, but I will try. Okay, so every week you'll have a little email from me saying, are you getting? Well, and one of the questions is, if you're stuck, did you seek help? I don't want people as well going away from supervision, I'm going on. I'm really stuck. I don't know what I'm doing. Can't remember what I said. What are we doing? I'm lost. Right? And then like 2 weeks later, I find out that, oh yeah, you haven't done anything for 2 weeks because you were waiting to ask me a question. Don't do that. All right. I try and be pretty good on email. Email me immediately if you like. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't think any of you are in that position though. I think you're doing really well. Yeah, just something we don't say very often, is that? I'm just writing some points and then I'll send them to you. If there's anything else, ask me.
I've just got a quick question.
Yeah.
Probably might found over summer. Like some of the books I was reading Edward Said, the Orient.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it just went completely over my head.
Right.
But I don't know whether to like stick with it and with like a dictionary and try and understand it, or is it more a better use of my time to find someone who's written about him to kind of understand it easier?
Yeah. I have to do this with Baudrillard. I've no idea what Baudrillard's about, and I'm not convinced. I find it very unconvincing. Some of his theories I find very unconvincing. So I don't read Baudrillard because it really annoys me. So I read what other people write about him, and it's the same as Said. If you're struggling with what he's actually saying, is it about Orientalism?
Yeah.
If
I
you're
got
struggling
this
about what
book
he's
out.
saying, who writes what about Orientalism, and what do they say?
Yeah.
All right, because other people will be in the same boat, and they'll have written papers and books on it as well.
Okay.
All right. Right. I've written a very turgid sentence there. Right. I'm going to email you all with two things, really. First of all, to say that I'll email you the 1,000-word format. See whether it's of any use to you, because sometimes it'll help you start. If you're struggling to organise your work, not that I would suggest anyone's struggling, but if you want a sort of way to start, I can send this to you and you can start slotting your ideas in. Okay, and from there, then you can start writing. The second point is, don't forget you can acknowledge the perspectives of other people while locating your own perspectives away from them. And that's what we were saying about, you can say, well, other people write this about that, but this dissertation is going to focus on this particular aspect.
Is that how you phrase it, this dissertation, rather than saying,
You can say
or do you
that.
say some might argue, rather than saying,
Some
I
might
believe?
argue, might leave me thinking, who do they mean? Like, who are the some that they refer to? If you're saying this dissertation, you're not leaving it ambiguous, are you? Yeah, I'll write that down.
So if you're like halfway through, like chapter 2, like if you're on like chapter 2 and you say like this so and so would argue this, and then you want to say, but I think, how do you kind of
This
like phrase
dissertation.
that? Oh, that's all the way through. That's
You
what
could say
how
this
you
dissertation, it's third person writing.
Yeah.
But arguably, now you can always argue, you can always suggest, but it could be suggested that, and from that I'm reading that it's your idea.
Okay.
Yeah? But I always like you to locate what you're doing. This dissertation's examining these things.
Yeah.
It could be argued that it could be examined in a different way, and here's all the people who say this. And that's really, a little bit, if it helps you, that's really what your lit review is. Examining what other people are arguing, really. Yeah? Does that make sense? Are you okay? You seem all up for it and good. I like this. I like people who've done some work. I like the idea that you're challenging how you feel about it. This is great. You're in a good place.
Yeah.
You're in a better place.
Better than last term.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You okay? You're still a bit concerned about images.
I'll get there.
All right. We need to find an image person then, don't we, in the library?
So I think that's what I'm going to do today. I'm just going to try and find loads of visual representations, and then next time I see you, I'm going to have one.
I'm sure the example dissertations that are on Moodle might have like dissertations that have images in as well.
Yes,
so.
they do, because they've all got images in them. We always encourage you to have images, because sometimes you can use an image like a quotation. Yeah, where you can say, so this in this image, these things I've been talking about here appears in this way. It's great.
And there's lots of graphics.
Yeah.
In that bookshelf.
I think we've got like Kath coming to do a talk about images in the dissertation.
Maybe.
Illustration.
Sounds
so
good.
maybe you could like find out and go along.
Yeah.
Or maybe she's going everywhere to do it, I don't know.
I don't know, but
See.
you said something about it yesterday.
Anything else you want to... So when you come next time, you're coming for the individual tutorials.